Hello and welcome to a review of long division. Now, long division has a bunch of steps and they're all the same and they repeat over and over, and one of the things we're going to look at today is taking it to the next step, not just basic long division but also how to do multi-digit long division and what to do when you run into problems. The 3 or 4 most common problems that people make when they do long division. So hopefully this should take care of any hiccups you might have had with doing this particular operation. We're going to start with 5 going into the number 2,364. So we're going to take our 5 and we're going to say no, 5 does not go into 2, but 5 does go into 23. 5 goes into 20 4 times. I'm going to put the 4 right above the 3 because we're using the 23, and keeping my place value, my digits straight, is really important in long division. 5 times 4 is 20. I'm going to subtract, and I get 3. So our basics are, we're going to start by dividing. How many times does 5 go into 23? 4 times. We're going to multiply. 5 times 4 is 20. We're going to subtract, and 23 minus 20 is 3, and then we're going to bring down. We're going to bring that 6 straight down. So the way they remember this is family members: dad, mother, sister, brother. And you're going to do these same 4 steps over and over again. So the next, how many times does 5 go into 36? Well, 5 goes into 35 7 times, and that 7 goes right above the 6. 7 times 5 is 35. Subtract, you get 1. You bring down the 4. 5 goes into 14 twice. 2 times 5 is 10, subtract, and 4. Now, you have a choice. You can either make a fraction or you can make a decimal. So, if you were to make a fraction, your answer would be 472 and 4/5, and you would write that like that. Or, if you wanted to make a decimal, you could put a decimal place here, and you can put a decimal place here, and you can put a 0 here. You can put as many zeros as you want. You're going to bring that 0 down. 5 goes into 40 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40, subtract, and 0. Now, it doesn't necessarily always work out this way, nice and even like this, but that's why I picked 5, because I knew it would go into something that ended in a 0. One of the most common mistakes people make here is that they take the 4 that they had left over and they say the answer is 472.4, and they just put their remainder up there and they call it a decimal. No, can't do that. Can't do that. If you're going to have a decimal, you're going to have to divide again. You can always take your remainder and put it over this number and leave it as a fraction. You can always do that, but you got to keep track of them. All right, let's try another one. Let's try it with a double digit. Now, what I'm going to do here, I have no idea how many times 19 goes into 43 because I don't know my 19's times tables. However, I can round things off. I can say that this actually looks like a 20. How many times does 20 go into 43? Well, 20 goes into 40 2 times. And remember, I'm saying 43, so I'm going to put the 2 right above that 3 because I'm using it there. 2 times 9 is 18. 2 times 1 is 2, and 1 is 3. I'm going to subtract. I'm going to do whatever I need to do, and I end up with 5. And I'm going to bring down my 7. How many times does 20 go into 57? Well, 20 goes into 40 twice. And again, 38, subtract, borrow, 9, and 1. And I get 19. Oh, my goodness. So, here's one of the problems people run into. You see, I've got an answer. I'm going to bring down my 2. Well, 19 goes into 192 10 times. How do I put a 10 here? I can't put a 10 here. The problem is that when I ended up with 19 as an answer, this is the same size or bigger than this number. What it really means is this number should have been bigger. When you get an answer that is either the same number or bigger than this number, it could have gone in another time. 19 doesn't go into 57 twice. 19 goes into 57 3 times. So here's a perfect example of a problem people run into. They end up not knowing what to do, and they say, I can't do long division. So all you have to do is go up and change it. That's really a 3, and we're just going to scratch all this out. 3 times 9 is 27. 3 times 1 is 3, and 2 is 5. Wow, 3 times 9 is 27. I just wrote a 2. That's funny. And I subtract and I get 0. I bring down my 2. 19 goes into 2 0 times. 0, subtract. Now, I can do a decimal place, or I can say, and 2/19. So, you just learned how to get over one of the problems. If you guess wrong and you guess too small. There's also the problem of guessing too big. Let's try that one. 2 of the most common problems. The divisor goes in 10 times or more, and we just kind of covered that. That means the last time that you divided it could go in one more time. So you just go and you change that number and you rework your calculations. Also, you could get the problem where you end up not subtracting, and that's what we're going to try here. So we've got the number 44 going into 16,290. So I'm going to round off, and I'm going to say, how many times does 40 go into 16? It doesn't. How many times does 40 go into 160? Well, 4 goes into 16 4 times. So 40 goes into 162 4 times. So I'm going to put my 4 up here. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 4 is 16, and 1 is 17. And I go to subtract, and I realize, whoa, hang on a sec. This number is actually bigger than I can't subtract these two. That means that this number is too big. So you've told yourself something. So rather than get frustrated, some people get frustrated and they just stop. It just means it has to go in one less time. So all I need you to do is change it. Okay, that's not right. It actually goes in 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 4 is 12, and 1 is 13. And now I can subtract. And I'm going to bring down my next number. Well, how many times does 44 go into 309? Not sure. But I know that 4 goes into 37 times, but I just guessed too high there. I'm going to guess a little low this time. So I'm going to say 6 times. Let's say 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 4 is 24, and 2 is 26. And I subtract, and I get 45. 45 is bigger than 44. Now, if I kept going, I'd say, how many times does 44 go into 450? It goes in 10 times. Well, that doesn't work. So that tells me the 6 is too small, and I need to change that to a 7. 7 times 4. So all this is wrong. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 4 is 28, 29, 30. There we go. And that's our 1. I'm going to bring down my 0. 44 goes into 10 0 times. And so I'm going to end up with 10 as my remainder, and I'm going to say 10 44ths, which of course I can't leave like that because I have to reduce. It's actually 5/22. But problems with long division happen. They happen because you round off. And it's not a problem as long as you know what the problem means and how to fix it. If this number is too big, then you guessed too high, make it one lower. If this number is too small so that you've got too many here, then make that one bigger. That's all. That's it. Okay, so what about with decimals? Dividing with decimals. Really, it's the same thing as basic long division. You need to keep track of a dot. You cannot have decimals in the divisor. They can't live here. So essentially, you're going to multiply everything by 10. You're going to move this decimal over once. So that this, and you're going to move it as many times as it takes to get rid of it. But that means you also have to move this one the same number of times so that you're not messing up your math. Now, if you're going to put this decimal here, you're also going to put this decimal here. Now, with decimals, it's really, really, really important that you keep track of where your answer goes. So that, because the difference between 9.2 and 0.92, if you owe me money, I'd much rather you gave me $9 than 92 cents. So please make sure you put these in the right place. Okay, so now I've got 42 going into 362.19. How many times does 40, I'm going to round off, 40 go into 36? It doesn't. Go into 360. 9 times, because I know 4 goes into 36 9 times. So 42 goes into 362 9 times. I'm going to put my 9 here. 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 4 is 36, and 1 is 37. Oh dear, this is too big, so I know that this is an 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 4 is 32, and 1 is 33. We subtract, and we get 26. We're going to bring down the 1. 40 goes into 26 6 times. So 42 goes into 261 6 times. I'm going to put my 6 up here. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 4 is 24, and 1 is 25. I'm going to subtract, and I get 9. I'm going to bring down my 9. 42 goes into 99 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Subtract, and I'm going to get 15, and I'm probably going to keep going, and that's okay. Now, I can't say and 15 42s here because you can't have a decimal and a fraction. If you're already into decimals, you got to keep going with decimals. And then you've got to figure out where do you want to round off. You're going to go one farther, and you're going to round off your last digit. Now, if this was money, you would automatically make sure you'd have these, so I'd have to go one more. If your question said, please round to the nearest hundredth, I'd go one more and round off. If it said round to the nearest tenth, you've already gone one more, so you can just round this off to 8.6. But I'm going to round it off to the hundredth, so I'm going to take it one more digit. I'm going to add a 0. How many times does 40 go into 150? 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract, and I get 24. And I know I do the subtraction because I want to make sure that I got this number right. So yeah, 24 is a number I'm supposed to get. It's lower than 42. I can actually subtract them. So I didn't run into any problems. Now I'm going to look next door to see, do I round this up or do I keep it the same? And for this, I keep it the same, so my answer is 8.62. Okay? I'm trying to show you long division with built-in problems so that you can see that it's really no big deal to run into problems. You just fix it. You just go back. As long as you know what the problem means, you can go back and fix it. It's really easy. And you need to be aware enough of your math skills to be able to adjust like that, so that any problem that you run across is not going to be too hard for you. Now, having said that, if you are good at long division and are interested in short division, that's what's up next.